I sure do appreciate you stopping. No one stopped for me, but you kind folk did. And they're like, yeah. Oh, yes, we did. Oh, boy. So, what were you doing on the side of the road? Let me show you. And he picks up, he has like some fucking squirrel carcasses. Isn't that good? Squirrel good, ain't it? Ooh, this will make a nice appetizer for the main course. And like, what's the main course? I'll never tell. Hello, and thank you for checking out the video. I just want to let you know that I not only create content on my YouTube channel, Class in the Glass, but I'm also on Twitch, where I review movies, cartoons, and TV shows live, while also playing single-player games and multiplayer games. I also have a Patreon where subscribers have access to hundreds of video and audio commentaries for films and cartoons, as well as podcasts and videocasts. In the meantime, thank you again for watching. Enjoy the video.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
But you know what, chat? You know what I do have to do? One of the things I have to do tonight is do a spoiler review, a scene-by-scene breakdown, chat, for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 1974 original. The reason why I have to say the 1974 original, because so many entries in this franchise are so many prequels, requels, sequels. They're just called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So you need to be very goddamn specific what you're talking about. It's the original movie, chat. The 74 original movie. Now, I've seen this movie several times, recently rewatching it. And I have a great appreciation for it. It's definitely the thing that brought Tobe Hooper to prominence. I don't know if it was his first movie, but I'm very, very impressive with what he was working with and how he eventually got distributed. For those who don't know, this movie was made for was made on a shoestring budget. Basically, between it's estimated around $80,000 to $150,000. Had a box office performance, chat. One of the most commercially successful films in the 1970s, if not all time. $30.9 million. It did very, very, very well. And it was so funny because, Tobe Hooper, despite making, when we think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we think of all this bloody, gory, cannibalistic family. And it's funny because he actually filmed it in such a way where there's not actually a lot of blood in this movie, very similar to John Carpenter's 1978 film Halloween, because even though the material itself is quite disturbing and creepy and not something that was frequently in cinemas, especially in the 1970s or any time before that, he struggled to find a distributor, but he shot the film hoping to get a PG rating with this thing. Obviously didn't work. Eventually did get a distributor, and he got mixed reviews when it originally released, but It performed very well in the box office. It had multiple re-releases throughout the rest of the 1970s, and it just did extraordinarily well, chat. And, it birthed the franchise, and, listen, other than the original film, the only other sequel, requel, remake, whatever you want to call it, prequel that I like is probably the 2003 remake. That one I like quite a bit. That one's pretty good in my opinion. I don't care for any of the other ones. And I know a lot of people, there's a lot of fans out there who swear by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Part 2. Not a big fan of that one. I just didn't like the humor. That wasn't working with me. Again, humor is very subjective. I was like, it's not really very funny to me. Then they did all the sequels. They did the one with Matthew McConaughey. They did the one with Viggo Mortensen, and then they did all the prequels, sequels, and then most recently, chat, they did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is a requel where it ignores all the other sequels in the various timelines and takes place, I guess, 40 or 50 years after the events of the original film. And that one's awful. One of the worst movies of the year. We've had a lot of good horror movies recently, but that was not a great start to the year in terms of horror films. That one was pretty goddamn bad. The one that's produced by Fede Alvarez. But hey, the original one, chat, I love it. I love how gritty it is. It feels very grounded, and it helps the fact that they just had so little money, so that's why it feels so real. So often, I talked about this in my video commentary, will be posted very, very soon. So often we think of horror films or slash movies, they always take place at night, but what I love so much about this movie is for the majority of the film, 3/4 of it takes place during the day. A lot of the murders and most horrific things take place during the day, and I really like that. I think that's supposed to put like the audience at ease, and when something inevitably horrible happens, and it does, it's like it shocks you. And there's some great kills in here. Again, not a lot of blood, but it's Tobe Hooper. He was smart to let the audience's imagination scare them. He would present like an object and be like, oh no, and you know what just happened to that person, but it doesn't actually show it, but just the implication of it. And like the actor's reaction to it. It's like it's very good. It's very smart filmmaking. I don't think he even though he was trying to get a PG rating, I'm like, hey, you ain't getting a PG goddamn rating with this. But still, it was very smart. He was despite how over exaggerated this movie is, and it is very over exaggerated. He is subtle in a number of scenes, which is crazy to say about a film in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Yeah, but I'm a big fan of this movie. There's a lot to respect here, a lot to admire here, and, it birthed, obviously, Tobe Hooper's career. But that's just my opinion. What about you guys? How many of you have seen the original 1974 directed Tobe Hooper Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And what'd you think of it, chat? I'm curious. Oh, who else is here, chat? Girthy Mallet. There is a Girthy Mallet in this movie. Quite a few Girthy Mallets. A lot of screaming in this movie. If I have a criticism, a little too much screaming. I think I might say that. Hamilton Burger, good to have you here. The remake is also pretty good. No, the remake does the remake much more gruesome, much more bloody and gory. I think people often think like this movie is like super gory. It's not really that gory. It's just implied. It's like, oh shit, like you realize what's happening, but they don't really show it. Your imagination plays with you. But the remake is very very good. The original one, the 2003 one, which is good. It's a good movie. Can't say parts of it. Chris Harris, a classic for a reason. I'm not talking trash. You only want to understand. Oh, you're saying that? Oh, I don't understand why people like this movie. You're really helping me get why people do. Oh yeah. I mean, then I'll continue to explain. Let's see here. Saw it on TV as a teen, says Lisa. Hard hands, by the way. So just very surprised by how little plot there was. It really isn't. It was good, but I thought it would stick with me more. It is very bare bones. The story is pretty goddamn simple, and I'll explain the story in just a bit, but I could see that. I haven't rather just listened to your review. I saw the last scene with him running after. Yeah, it's an iconic scene. There's several iconic moments in this movie that I do quite enjoy. And then him just fucking dancing and ringing with the chainsaw. In his rage dance, because Sally got away. Let's see what else they're saying. Something was just too eerie for me. Maybe it was just too scary in my head. I would never know. It was apparently so. There's some cool subtlety to this movie. Only saw the remake actually, but what bothers me and puts me off is didn't a lot of this really happen? No. Okay, so so that's a misconception. So the movie says, oh, this is based on the crimes of murderer Ed Gein. It's not really. So what they did was, for the marketing of the film, they basically said, oh yeah, this is based on real events. This wasn't based on real events. They just did that for the marketing of the movie. All that was just PR bullshit to get audiences interested in the film. So yeah, that whole thing, they sometimes say it's like, oh yeah, it's definitely inspired by Ed Gein's murder. It's really not. It's really not inspired by that. Maybe a little bit aesthetically to a degree. The idea of taking human skin and making chairs out of it and like lamps, but there's other than that, not really. I would say. They did that. They did that for marketing purposes, but yeah. Anyway, let's see here. They rented the others. Assume the news. The twist was. Nice. Lisa liked the twist. In fact, Jim Sado, the actor who played the gas station owner, the cook, was the only actor who had any experience as an actor. I feel that way. He's probably the best actor out of it. Not that no one gives a bad performance. There's definitely people just fucking weird. Some of these people just feel real. It's like, the one thing I appreciate about this film, that clearly, Tobe Hooper, obviously, a Texas native, Chad, actually born in Austin. Like this feels like a Texas movie, right? This was made by a Texan. Where so many of the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, like especially the most recent one, I would say, clearly weren't made by people who grew up in Texas or who have any like semblance or knowledge of Texas at all. Where so one of the things that has bothered me about some of the sequels is that for whatever reason, especially this most recent one, this requel, chat, they constantly say right outside of Austin, Texas. Chat, I live outside of Austin, Texas. Like, fucking Leatherface and his family are not my neighbors. It's like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. You know what's in between Austin? Many other cities and large towns and suburbs. It's like, even in the 70s, like, what are you talking about? It doesn't look like that. People always have this idea of like, oh, it's all fucking tumbleweeds and fields and cannibal families. It's not. It's not. Like, south of where I live, it's a huge college town in San Marcos. South of that, you have San Antonio, one of the largest cities in the state. I love how he doesn't say exactly where in the state we are, but it could be, you know, it could be somewhere it could be somewhere in the Panhandle. It could be somewhere in East Texas, like in these little small dying towns. That's what it is. So, that's what, like, that new movie that we just had where it's just right outside of Austin. It's like, no, it's not, you fucking idiot. That always bothered me. It just showed you that they just literally just thought Texas is, other than Austin maybe, it's all tumbleweeds and cannibal families, and it's not true. It's just not true. So I like that. I really do like that about the film quite a bit. But chat, you know, that's my general thoughts. Got your general thoughts. For the most, be positive. A couple people that weren't maybe into it. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. But for right now, my friends, we're going to go ahead and get into the scene by scene breakdown for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 1974 original. Chat. And what I like about this movie, even at the start, like, it has that, you know, the creepy credits and opening crawl of like this narrator comes in and describing like, oh, the horrible events of this crime were terrible and they affected the community for generations over. You follow these, I think how many of these 4 youths as they were brutally murdered. We have the poor Sally, and you can tell this is a period piece, or that, you know, this is a dated film. You know this is dated because, you know, one of the characters in the movie, Franklin, who is the brother of Sally. You know, they're going to the cemetery because their grandfather's cemetery plot was apparently unearthed, and there's been a lot of like, you know, just cemeteries and graveyards been ransacked and the bodies dug up and stolen. It's like, who's been doing this? Who's been stealing all these goddamn dead bodies, chat? You know, just defacing things. But like, they have it where you have dear Sally and her poor invalid brother because he's in a wheelchair. It's like, come, an invalid? Jesus Christ. But I like the opening credits because after that, then we just get this. It's like, I want to know how they did it because it looks like blood in the background, but it's like flowing really weird and it's kind of like popping and things. Like, it's a really cool, disgusting opening credit sequence, Shan. I really, really dug. And after that, you know, that opening text crawl, it's the scariest Star Wars crawl imaginable, chat, talking about Sally and her poor invalid brother and the rest of their dumb, horny, hippie friends, chat, and then all the crazy shit that's happening right outside of Austin, Texas. We then immediately cut to a rotting corpse that's been propped up in a cemetery with a head just placed firmly in the middle of its crotch, chat. You know, I mean, just like performing oral sex, but they can't do it because they're dead. Just the neck stump just inserted on the rotten dick, chat. And, you know, we constantly hear like this radio announcer talking about like all these crimes in this area. And how, like, graveyards have been ransacked, cemeteries have been defaced, and, like, bodies have been propped up in a ritualistic, disgusting manner. And apparently the ritualistic, disgusting matter, Chad, is a dead body with a crotch on its rotting penis, Chad. That's what it is. Or a severed head placed in the crotch of a rotting body. Well, after that wonderful sequence, we're introduced to our main cast of characters. We have Sally, who is traveling with her brother Franklin to visit one of the cemeteries, one of the graveyards where her grandfather's grave was defaced. They also have Jerry, who I believe is Jerry Sally's boyfriend. He's the driver, Chad. He's the guy with the Jufro, and he has got like the tinted sunglasses. He's the one that's like, I'm still holding on to the 1960s fashion sense. You know, he's like a flower child of the 60s, Chad, just by his whole look. We're also introduced to Kirk, who is pretty much like the Fred, if you will, of the Scooby-Doo. He's the Fred of the movie, Chad, and his girlfriend Pam, his Daphne, Chad, if you will. And, you know, you get a sense like, okay, they're close friends. Franklin, he's kind of like the odd one out because they don't like him because his legs don't work, chat. That's kind of the reason why I like it. They brought Franklin around along with the journey because, well, he's the brother of Sally, of course, chat. And so they eventually pull up to the graveyard. They're all getting out. They have, like, you know, this is not, by the way, this is not handy capable back in the day, Chad, especially the car. Like, they have these fucking wooden planks that they have to use for Franklin so they can wheel him down. He's like, ah! Every time they like wheel him down out of the truck that they're in. He's like, Jesus Christ, every time. Yeah, not very handy capable society back in the 1970s. But they roll him down. And Sally, she did, the police are there and like some other, neighbors are there and things. And, she basically asked for, I'm looking for my grandfather's grave. I heard it was defaced. We just want to assess the damage. And this one guy is like, oh, yes, ma'am. I'll go. Yes, miss, I'll go ahead and I'll show you over there. While, Jerry, he's fucking smoking a joint. And, Pam and Kirk, they're just smooching, right? But Franklin, he notices this one old man who is, by the way, all these extras clearly were people that were living. Like, just they're none of them are actors, but they just live in the area. And there's this one old man with like a shit ton of missing teeth, just his gums are just gross and grimy. And he's drinking this beer in this fucking tire chat. And he's like, I've seen things that you wouldn't believe. And Franklin's like, what kind of things? Things that would give you nightmares. Anytime he laughs, you just see just his blackened teeth and his blackened gums. It's like, Jesus Christ, close your mouth. I can smell the dead, rotting flesh and alcohol coming my way, right? And it's like, but Franklin, he's like, well, that is somewhat concerning. I don't think we should be here anymore. And so eventually they find the grave and they're like, okay, they take down all the information, but like, hey, since we're in the area, let's go to our grandfather's old home. It was dilapidated. This is where I grew up. It was abandoned when they moved to the city, chat, years ago. Let's go ahead and just go there. But Franklin's like, he's a little worried. And so they're heading down the road, chat. And then all this, so by the way, and Franklin, like, for whatever reason, like, he's clearly a little off, but he has, like, this pocket knife, and he's constantly picking his hands and his fingernails with this knife, like, cleaning them, and so gross. And people use this knife for everything. Like, at one point, it's like, Franklin, can I have your knife? And he like, wipes it on himself, and he like, clean it off, and, like, someone cuts a sandwich. It's like, that's filled with his finger goop and nail filings. Why use there? Someone opens up, I need the knife to open my beer, Franklin. So he's like, all right, here you go. And just clean it off a little bit and just takes it and pops it. It's like, gross, stop it. That knife comes into play multiple times. And yeah, it's extra protein. A little bit of Franklin's inside all of us now, Chad. More ways than one. So, they're going down the road, just consuming Franklin's body. Already technically, Chat, indulging in cannibalism before we get to the first cannibal. It's crazy. Even these people are doing it. So they're driving, and then they smell a stink you wouldn't believe. Chad, they're like, oh, what is that horrible smell? And Franklin's like, I remember this. It's the local slaughterhouse. This is where our grandpappy used to sell his cattle. And by the way, there's a lot of B-roll in this movie, a shit ton of B-roll. Probably a little too much. But they pass by the slaughterhouse, and Toby Hooper just shows these images of these cows that look just fucking sick. There's this one particular cow. It's like it's fucking blind, and it's like its nose and its mouth is just frothing and like leaking boogers and snot, and it's like, that's a mad cow I ever saw one. That thing is just filled to the brim, chat, with mad cow disease, and it's just like, do not eat that one. But they pass by it, and they're like, oh, it's just so disgusting. Well, as they're passing by, I don't know, one of the dumb ones, who was it? I think it's like Fred or Pam or Jerry. It might have been Jerry. The Jerryster. Jerry's just like, hey guys, there's a fucking hitchhiker right there. And this guy's going, and they're like, he doesn't look right in the head. He doesn't look too safe. I feel like we should keep driving. It's like, no. And Pam's like, no, we should pick him up. We got to be like nice. Come on. Jesus. And so they're like, all right. And so they fucking park the car and they let him get inside. Huge fucking mistake. Because as soon as you see this guy, it's like, this guy is not right. He's looks emaciated. He's covered in sores, chat. He's got these huge dark circles around his eyes. He's just smiling. He's like missing teeth. Half of them are rotten, chat. And, he's got this birthmark. He's got this beet red birthmark that goes right from like the top of his brow, all the covers of cheek. Looks like it's got like a welt. Looks like he got popped in the fucking cheek, but it's a birthmark and it goes all the way down. It's a little swollen. It goes down to like his neck, like he's like, and they're like, hey, man, how you doing? He's like, oh, I'm good. I sure do appreciate you stopping. No one stopped for me, but you kind folk did. And they're like, yeah. Oh, yes, we did. Oh, boy. So, what were you doing on the side of the road? Let me show you. And he picks up, he has like some fucking squirrel carcasses. Isn't that good? Squirrel good eating, ain't it? Ooh, this will make a nice appetizer for the main course. And like, what's the main course? I'll never tell. Ooh, you guys passed by the slaughterhouse. That's a good stank, isn't it? And Franklin's like, yeah. Do you work at the slaughterhouse? No. I don't work at the slaughterhouse, but my family's always been in the meat business. Yes, we've been. He's like, hey, is it true what they do with the cows? That they have that air gun where you press and go, and the bolt goes into their heads and kills them. He says, oh, yeah, that bolt gun. Yeah, that bolt gun, it worked good, but nothing beats a sledgehammer to the head. Sometimes there's something about a sledgehammer. You just grab them both your hands, and you feel the wool and slick in blood, and go, bah, and you get them real good. And you feel the skull crack, and the crack go right up your arm. You feel it. With that bolt gun, you don't feel nothing now. And they're like, oh, okay. He's like, well, do you need us to take you somewhere? Oh, I'm just up yonder. You just keep driving now. And so then Franklin, he gets nervous, and he pulls out his knife, and he starts cleaning his finger. He says, that's a mighty fine knife you have there, boy. Can I see that knife? And they're like, Franklin, don't give him the knife. And he's like, okay. And he gives him the knife. He's like, ooh, nice and sharp, ain't it? And he fucking just cuts his hand like immediately. Oh, his own hand. And everyone's like, He's like, that's sharp now. That's sharp. Here you go. He gives him the knife back. Franklin's like, oh, thanks. He's like, I got a nice knife too. And he takes out this straight razor. He's like, it's sharp. You want to see how sharp it is? And they're like, nah, man, we're good. He's like, all right. No harm. And it's like, so other than catching squirrels and shit, what's that other thing? He has this sack around his neck. It looks like it's made from the scrotum of a cow, and it's just covered in fur and meat's falling off of it. And it's like, well, what's in that sack here? You want to see what's in my sack? I'll show you. And he opens the fucking sack, Chad. Inside is this giant camera, this old camera. And he's like, I'm going to take your picture. I'm going to take y'all's picture so I'll remember you real good, like. And so he takes the picture out. He takes the camera out, and he and it takes a picture of Frank. It was one of those old ones where you can, it's like it develops instantly. You can just take it out and you just got to go do it like this. And he's like, here you go. Here. And then Franklin takes, he's like, oh, thank you. And it looks like shit. The image quality is terrible. And the hitchhiker's like, yeah, but $2. And it's like, but the picture's not very good. I took your picture. I need to be paid $2. What? Where's my $? And they're like, I don't really want it. They're like, Franklin, just give him back the picture. He's like, I'm sorry. You didn't ask me if I wanted the picture. He's like, all right. And then he takes out this tinfoil wrap and he puts the picture down and he takes out what looks like gunpowder or something. I was like, is this crystal meth? And he just puts gunpowder crystal meth in the picture. And then he takes out a fucking match. He just starts burning. The car. It's like, and the flames are popping. I was like, and he grabs the fucking thing. He wraps it up and he puts it in his cow scrotum sack. He hangs around his neck, and then he takes out his knife. He's like, and he grabs Franklin's arm and goes, and he just fucking slices him right on the arm, Chad. His Franklin's like, and they fucking freak out. And they open up the car, and they push him out. He's like, I'll get you. I will. And he leaves like this bloody mark on the car. And they just take off. Chad. They keep it like, holy fucking shit. And they wrap up poor, Franklin's arm, Chad. Also, there's a whole conversation about head cheese and dick cheese. Apparently, the hitchhiker, he loves him some good old head cheese and some good old dick cheese, Chad. So you thing is, you boil the skull. You boil the stone, kill the bone, become all jelly, and it's very delicious now, ain't it? And they have that conversation. Then eventually he cuts them and they take off. Well, after that wonderful scene, we then cut to the gas station, Chad, because they're almost out of gas, right? They need some gas. And we see this again, this guy just felt like I don't think he was an actor, but it's the sad, lonely car washing boy who constantly just stares up at the sun. So he's fucking half blind. He doesn't know. His head's like engorged at this point. Like his head's like, gah. It's like out. It's like it's swollen. It's sticking out, Chad. And, the car parks, and he just gets up and immediately just starts washing the car. While the owner of the gas station, who is just calls him, he's just the cook, chap. They're like, oh, excuse me, sir. Can you fill up our car? He's like, I ain't got no gas. Haven't had gas for 2 days. Supposed to come on a Monday. Today is a Thursday, so no gas until that point. And they're like, shit. Oh, God. Okay, well, is there a gas station nearby? It's like, yeah, there's a gas station nearby. Gas station about 50 miles that way, though. We're going to take you some time. Do you have 50 miles worth of gas in your car? And they're like, I don't know, sir. Is that, do you like barbecue? And they're like, excuse me? I said, do you like barbecue, boy? Do you got earwax in your ears? And they're like, oh, yeah, barbecue. Yes, sir, we'd like some barbecue. It's like, I got plenty of sausage in the back. You want some sausage? You want some brisket, boy? You want some? They're like, yeah. And they're like, all right, I'll fix you some. And so the Jerster, Jerry, he goes in and he grabs some barbecue, chat, right? And eventually they head back into the car. And they're just stuffing themselves with beef barbecue, pork barbecue. Sure. And so they keep on going. And the wash boy, Che, he just waves. He's like, bye. He's good. He did his goddamn job, Che. He did his goddamn job. Eventually, they get to their grandfather's old home. And this thing is creepy as fuck. I'm like, when did you leave this? Because this feels like this hasn't had anyone living in it in like 50 goddamn years. It's been completely overtaken by vegetation. Yet the flora and fauna of the planet have reclaimed this house as their own. But they'll go inside, and they tell Franklin to stay outside because he's an invalid and his legs don't work. And so they go up there, and they just fucking, kind of start partying, having fun. Some of them, explore different areas of the house. There's just one horror. Again, there's some really good. I think if I have a criticism of this movie, there's a little too much B-roll, and there's a little too much screaming at times. It's like, all right, we get it. But some of this B-roll is, really, really effective. And there's this one shot where I think it's Jerry or Fred. And, not Fred. Well, he's Fred to me. He's like, Fred from Scooby-Doo. Jerry or Kirk. And they go into this room, and there's just this giant mass. It's this giant wriggling mass moving on the wall. And it's just this huge fucking nest of daddy long legs. And it's just horrifying. It's like, oh, they must have just found this house and were like, let's shoot there. And they found that giant nest inside this building. And it's just so creepy. It's like, oh, when you see it. And, they're talking about, how they grew up in this house. It's like, when did you grow up in this house? When? But in any case, at this point, Franklin, he's getting a little upset. He's pissed because he hears them all having fun, upstairs, talking and reminiscing. And Franklin, his legs don't work good. And so we spent a good 5 minutes watching him try to roll himself inside this dilapidated house, Chad. And Franklin, he's a big boy. Franklin's a big boy, all right, in this wheelchair. So he's wheeling a lot of Franklin around. He's got a sausage, so he has a cigar in his mouth. He's like, spits it out at one point. He manages to wheel himself inside. He's like, he's a little exhausted, chap. But he starts getting pissed. He's like, oh, you guys, Franklin, he'll have fun. Just bring him along. And there's an extended period of time when he's just blowing raspberries at them from the first floor, just going. Now, what's cool about this scene, though, is we're watching him wheeling himself around through the house, because all the, there's walls completely, caved in. The windows have no glass in them. And, it's there's trees in the middle of the fucking living room. But I like this because how he's being shot, it's almost as if something is watching him. It's almost as if something is hunting him, chat. And I really, really like that. It's like there's some really clever cinematography in this movie. It's very gritty, feels very real, and I really dug that. Eventually, Kirk and Pam, they come down the stairs, and they heard about Franklin talking about this watering hole. It's like, hey, Franklin, isn't there some watering hole near your grandpapa's property? And he goes, yeah, it's that way. And they're going, well, thanks, Franklin. We'll see you later. Don't wait up. Because he fucking can't do anything. He's not going to be able to roll himself down there. He's like, don't wake up, Franklin. Don't wake up, Franklin. And so then we follow Kirk. We follow Kirk and Pam, and I will say I noticed that one of the shots that Tobe Hooper likes to indulge in, I call it the booty butt shot, because there are several shots in this movie where he is just up the booty butts of his two female characters, chat, of Sally and of Pam. It's like, especially here, and Pam's got these red pants on, and he can't help himself. The Michael Bay show, before Michael Bay was a thing, it was called the Tobe Hooper booty butt shot. And so we're following Kirk and we're following Pam, and they're taking their clothes off. Yeah, we're free. We live in the 70s. Everything's awesome. And, by the way, where they are, it looks fucking hot. It looks sweaty. It looks stinky. Like, it just doesn't look good, right? And, they're falling, they fall down this, like, little hill, and it's just rocks and shit, does not look pleasant. And they didn't find no goddamn watering hole, chat. However, they do see a property over yonder. And, like, let's go over and check that property, chat. And there's, like, originally I thought it was part of the score. Like, there's this bzzz, like, this buzzing sound. I was like, is that the chainsaw? Is that a bunch of bees? I thought almost it was a part of the score or something. But, they go on this property. It's very good visual storytelling, chat. Environmental storytelling, where they go and they see this, looks like a little lot. But it has like this kind of grassy blanket thrown over. It's huge. This huge grassy blanket. And they look inside of this little lot that's pretty much covered up. You wouldn't be able to see it from above. Or even if you're coming close to it like this, you're like, oh, they just noticed something shiny in there. And they lift it up and they see there's like dozens of cars like in here, chat. Like, oh shit, like these cars have been captured over many years, Chad, many decades, and they're still here from like from modern 1970s, the 60s, the 50s, and the 40s. It's like all across. It's like, that's interesting. Eventually, they continue onward and they find this house, which is so funny. So this house, Chad, I think it's still in Texas. They relocated it from its original location, but the Leatherface family cannibal home, it is recently been converted into a restaurant. Which I find very amusing. It always was a restaurant, chat. The menu might have changed, but it was always a restaurant. And so they go up there. They go up to booty butt shot, all the booty butt shots, both for Kirk and for Pam. They go up there, and they're looking for someone. They're looking for gas, looking for that watering hole. Is there a watering hole? But as Kirk is knocking on the door, one of these things, something falls out of one of the cracks of the doorway, and it's a fucking human tooth. And he proceeds to pick up the human tooth, which has a cavity in it. It's really gross. It's all black and rotten. And he proceeds then to give this to his girlfriend. He's like, Pam. She's like, what? And he's like, I have a gift for you. She's like, you got a gift for me? Oh, okay. He's like, hold out your hand. She's like, all right. And she holds out her hand. Bad boyfriend puts this rotten fucking tooth in her hand. She's like, ah! And she runs off and she sits on this like swinger, this bench or whatever, slightly off the front lawn. And he's like, I was just joking. She's like, you're disgusting, Kirk. Never do that to me again. He's like, all right. Listen, I'm just going to go inside and ask these people if they have any gas on them or, if they can find that watering hole. I want to go in that watering hole real good, right? And so he goes inside the watering hole. Or excuse me, not the watering hole. He never ends up in that. Chad, he never ends up in that watering hole, by the way. He goes inside the house. And the set design for the house, brilliant. Because the wallpaper is literally animal pelts. It's just covered just from top to bottom. Animal pelts everywhere. And there's this one room. And you know what it is if you've seen this movie. This one room where it's completely red. The wallpaper's red, or the paint, it's red. But there's all these animal skulls and pelts on there. It just stands out. And this guy, he walks up to this room. He's like, excuse me, is everyone live here. I just want to know where the watering hole is. And he trips, Chad. He trips forward. And then, boom, we see him, Chad. Leatherface in full leather daddy regalia with a mask made of human flesh in full apron, standing at least 2 feet taller than Kirk, Chad. Fucking Leatherface produces a fucking hammer. Bah! And it hits him once. He hits him one time over the head and just caves. And clearly, we just see him cave his skull in just like that. And you hear the thunk, and it's loud, and it's a meaty cracking of bone thunk on his head. And then we just see Kirk's body just spasm, Chad, because clearly his brain has been so severely damaged. That's all he can do. And we just hear Leatherface going, squee, 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 like a pig. And it just proceeds to just drags him into the room. And this shot is amazing. He takes this metallic door and goes, boom, and he goes, and he's just locked inside the house. And what's so cool about this, again, Chad, this is all taking place. This is not at night. This is all during the day, which I think is really cool. Like maybe late, maybe it's like early afternoon at this point. I was like, God damn. And so then Pam, she thought she heard something, and so she goes to investigate the house, and she goes inside, and she sees all the pelts and things. She's like, what the hell is going on? Kirk, are you in here? Kirk? Hello, is anyone in here? And then she hears like, cluck, 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 and she hears like this clucking or something, and she opens this door and she trips, because she takes a step forward and immediately trips, Chad, and boom, she is face first in human bones, animal bones, just a shit ton of chicken shit, Chad, just feces everywhere. And it's like there's not a single space of floor that is not covered with just the leftovers of human meat and bone and animal droppings. She's like, oh, and there's this one chicken in this cage is like, bitch, get the fuck out of here. She's like, oh, and she fucking gets up and she runs out, Chad, but then, boom, that big metallic door shutter just opens, and the Leatherface is going, and she's like, oh, and she's fucking running, Chad, but then Leatherface just grabs her as soon as she's out the door, and she's like, and he's just like dragging her, and he drags her into the back room where we drag Kirk into, and we see it's this kitchen area, Chad. It's this big fucking kitchen area, and there's this set of meat hooks, right? And they're just planted into the wall, and in the wall or maybe on the ceiling. And he just is like, he turns her around and just puts her right on those meat hooks. She's like, and she's like, screaming, hollering. She's like in shock. And then, Chad, we see what's left of Kirk. His body his head has been bludgeoned, but his body is like right on this table, Chad, like this little island table. And then we see fucking Leatherface. He goes over to the sink where he has the chainsaw, Chad. Takes that chainsaw, and he goes, and she's like, no, and we just see him as he just starts cutting pieces of meat off of Kirk, Chad, just killing him. It's like, Jesus Christ, just cuts him to pieces. Eventually cut back to Jerry, the Jerster, and he's like, where did fucking Kirk and Pam go? We haven't seen them all day. And they're like, oh, and Franklin says, I told them about the watering hole. They probably went to go see the watering hole. He's like, well, we got to get going. We got to get back on the road. We got to find a gas station, get some fucking gas. He's like, I know. And so Jerry, he goes to investigate. Great fucking cinematography when Jerry goes to investigate. He goes to investigate, Chad, and he goes to the home, and he doesn't see any evidence of Kirk or Pam. But he enters in the home. He's like, hello? Hello, is anyone in here? And he goes inside, Chad, and he hears this tapping. And he's like, what is that? And he goes into the kitchen area, which we see Kirk no longer there. But it's like there's blood everywhere. He's like, what the hell? And he notices the hooks, and right, but he hears this and there's this giant industrial size freezer, Chat, right? And he's like, what the hell? And he opens it up, Chat, and then fucking what's left of Pam just rears her, just tries to yeet herself out of the fucking freezer, but half her fucking body's gone, her legs are gone, Chad. She only has one arm. She's like, help me! And he's like, oh! And then we hear, he turns around, bonk. He gets bonked, Chad. He gets booped by Leatherface again with the hammer, his big old girthy mallet. And then he goes over to Pam. He's like, bonks her on the fucking head, closes the goddamn freezer. Now she's dead. And fucking Jerry's like, that's the end of the Jerster. We follow Leatherface a little while. He goes inside and he's like wandering around the home because he's scared. Because so many people are coming into the house. He's like, because he has the mind of a child, a cannibalistic, hungry, murderous child, chat. And he's like looking outside. And he's like, and then he starts touching his mask. He's like, and then we cut. And then we fucking cut, chat. And eventually we're with Sally and Franklin, and now it's nighttime, and now it's at night, and Jerry hasn't returned, Pam and Kirk haven't returned, they're honking on the car, hoping that they'll get there, and Sally's like, all right, at this point, I'm gonna go out and look for him, and fucking Franklin's like, no, absolutely not, I ain't staying here, that guy, what about that crazy hitchhiker guy, he might have known us. Oh, one point in the movie, like the hitchhiker, he, in his own blood, he like marks the car with a specific symbol, and I think Franklin wipes it off eventually, but it's like a really odd symbol. Now, we don't know if it's the sigil or the, the coat of arms, if you will, of Leatherface's family. I'm not sure, chap. But he wipes it off. And he's like, I don't want to do this. I do not want to do this. And we only have one flashlight, and I'm going to keep this goddamn flashlight. He's like, fine, I'll just go. I'll go without the flashlight. And Franklin's like, no, we're just going to fucking leave. We're going to get out of here. And so he goes into the car, chat, but Jerry took the keys with him. Jerry had them. And he's like, the keys are gone, Sally. The keys are gone. She's like, well, we're just going to go get Jerry. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're okay. They're probably in the water, probably just fucking each other or something. And Franklin's like, oh, God, I don't know about this, Sally. And Sally's like, listen, just stay here. Okay, just stay here. I'll be right back. And she starts walking away. He's like, Sally. He's like, fuck that. I have never seen Franklin roll himself faster in this moment. He's like, I'm coming too. I'm right behind you, okay? All right? And so eventually she grabs him and she starts pushing him through the fucking woods at this point. And they're just calling out for Kirk, calling out for Pam, the Jerster, Jerry, all that shit. John, Jason, all the names they know, Chad, trying to get someone's attention. And they're continuing to push through the woods, and it's just getting, now it's total darkness, right? The moon's high above them, but the most part, it's just thick. They're in a thicket, Chad. This thicket is at least 3, if not 4 seas thick, right? And they're going through it. And then at one point, Franklin's like, is Sally? She's like, yeah. Do you hear something? And then fucking Leatherface jumps up and he buries the chainsaw into Franklin's tummy. And he's like, oh, and he fucking just cuts poor Franklin in two, Chad. Just right into his tum-tum, right into his chest, and just like cuts him to bits. And fucking Sally's like, oh my God. And Leatherface is like, and she fucking takes off running, Chad, and he takes off right after, and she's fucking ducking and weaving, dodging all these fucking thickets. She's getting scratched up, clothes getting ripped and shit, Chad. And, Leatherface is like, this is at least a 3, if not 4 seas thick thicket. It's going to take me some time to cut through all this shit. So he's cutting through all this, and she's running. She keeps running. Eventually, oh, thank God, she spots a house with its lights on. It happens to be the cannibal family's house, but it's a house with lights on, Chad. And she runs to the house, and she slams the door shut, but Leatherface is right on her ass, Chad. You know it's on her ass because Toby Hooper can't help himself, and he has the booty butt camera right up there. But she runs and slams the door shut. Leatherface, he begins to just cut through the door with the chainsaw, and she's like, and she just goes around the house, and it's just a fucking house of horrors. Finds a fucking couch made of human bones and shit. Finds a table made of human bones. Finds like all this just weird paraphernalia ever just made of human meat and skin and bones. It's like, this is not good. Eventually, she's like, I just gotta get the fuck out of here. She runs up the stairs. She runs up the stairs with Leatherface in hot pursuit. She goes in this one room, collapses in this room, where she looks up and she sees this emaciated, seemingly dead-looking man just going, and she's like, ah! He's looks like a fucking ghoul. And she turns around. We see the grandma of the cannibal family, and she's just a fucking husk. She's just a skeleton at this point. Leatherface, he bursts in the room like the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah, except that the Kool-Aid Man was a fucking cannibal, and his juice was actually human blood. And she's just, I admire this. She just says, fuck it. She just yeets herself out the second-story window. She does it herself. She's like, I ain't fucking with this. She just, she falls out the second-story window, lands on the ground. She fucking tucks and tumbles and shit. She's like, trying to catch her breath. But then she has to get up because Leatherface, he's like, he sees her down there. He's going down the stairs. She's like, fuck. And so she gets moving again. She takes off running. And again, he's right on her ass at this point. And she has run so far, so much and so far, that eventually she gets back to the gas station where the cook lived, chat. Oh, the friendly cook who gave him that beef and pork barbecue, no doubt. And she runs into there. She's like, help me. She's knocking on the front door, nothing, slamming, just hitting the front door, nothing. She goes around to the back where the door is open. And the cook's right there. He's like, you okay, girl? She's like, help me. She just yeets herself inside. And he's like, oh, it's okay now. What's wrong? She's like, there's a fucking crazy guy chasing me. And he killed my invalid brother. That's what they called him at the time, chat. My invalid brother, Franklin, he's in a wheelchair. And I think all my friends are dead. I think Pam is dead. And her big butt got cut up. And definitely Kirk, he's probably dead. And the Jerster, they got the Jerster. And he's like, it's okay now. It's okay. You take it easy. Shit's all right. Gonna give you a little hug, girl. Oh, it's okay. Breathe with me on it. Whoo, we're gonna have a little breathing. Yeah, it's nice. And I'm gonna go check outside, okay? Don't you worry now. Don't you worry. I'm gonna check out. So he's like, no, we need to go to the police right now. We need to call. He's like, my phone don't work. Don't work. We gotta go into town. Go into town, we'll get the police, and then we'll get you some medical attention. You need medical. You got yourself all cut up. Were you in one of them thickets, girl? Them thickets at least 3 or 4 C's thick. Hold on now. And so he goes outside. And he pulls up the truck. He pulls up the truck right there. And he comes out with a shit ton of rope and a sack. And he's like, you want to go in the sack? She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, it's okay now. I'm just going to take you home. Oh, I know Leatherface, he's scary and everything with that chainsaw head, but it's all right. He don't mean nothing. He just kind of dumb. Brother dumb as hell, too. But don't you worry, we're going to take real good care of you now, girl. And then she looks over and she sees the barbecue, just human fucking meat. So they ate human barbecue, chat, and they loved it. It was delicious. She's like, no. And she picks up this fucking machete, chat. And he's like, oh, why you picking up that big old knife, girl? You don't want to hurt me? I'm going to help you. And then he grabs this broom. He's like, broom attack. And apparently, Chad, in the world of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, broom is stronger than machete. And he just beats her fucking senseless, concusses her with a broom. And not the broom handle, with the broom part. The made of all the straw and all that. Just, she's like, oh my God, ow. Knocks her the fuck out. Ties her up, Chaz. Oh, that broom came in handy. It's my weapon now. And he puts the broom behind his back, Chad. Woo! And he, ties her. He ties her hands behind her back, ties her legs and everything. And then he gets a gag, this disgusting. It looks like a cum rag, Chad. This man has put many dead babies into this rag of his, okay? And just stuffs that in her mouth, ties that up with the rope and everything. And she's like, oh, she's like, yeah, it's nasty. And he puts her in the sack and he carries her out and puts her in the car. And they drive back to the Leatherface house, Chad. And he's just kind of poking her. Now he's poking her with the broom again. Broom attack. She's like, I can't help it. I like my room. And he pulls up, Chad, and we see, the hitchhiker from earlier. We see the hitchhiker. And he's like, hey, I got some squirrel meat. And like, you idiot, you were supposed to watch your brother. Why weren't you watching his brother? The goddamn teenager running around, you chasing all them. You're supposed to watch him. I was getting squirrels. That's what I was doing. I'm taking pictures. No one's gonna buy your shitty pictures, boy. Your pictures suck. Help me with that girl now. And they take her inside the house, Chad. They take her inside the house, and where Leatherface is now, he has different masks, and so he's dressed up like a housewife. And he has like this new mask, might have been made from Pam for all we know. But he has this new mask on, and it has like rouge, and it has eyeliner on it and things. And he's like, ooh. Very sexy Leatherface. And they tie Sally to this chair made of human bones, but they recently cut off either the Jersters or Kirk's arms, and those are like the armrests. It's horrifying. They tie her to the chair. They remove the sack, and the hitchhiker's like, "Oh, will you now? You won't give me that lid? Well, mighty kind of you. I said you should come home for supper now, girl. Oh, the fixin's gonna be real good, like." And they're like, she's like, she just screams. And we just get a good look of everything in the room. Like, we see a chandelier made of human bones. We see a lamp made of someone's rib cage. Like, everything, all across the board, chat. But we go see what they use for cushions. It's just all the flesh of the humans that they've, killed and have consumed over the years. And at this point, the cook, who is I feels like is the eldest. I don't know what the relationship is. I mean, I'm sure, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre fans know. But, like, the hitchhiker and Leatherface, they are brothers. Now, this older gentleman, I don't know. I don't know if it is their dad or if he's like their cousin or their eldest brother. I'm not really sure. But he's like, all right, you two go ahead and get your grandpa down here now while I finish this food. Leatherface, get your fat ass back in the kitchen and make us some grub, boy. And he's like, so he goes in the kitchen. Well, the hitchhiker, he goes and grabs Grandpa. Like, Grandpa, what are you talking about? He looked dead. He ain't dead. But he drags him, but he can't get him down the stairs. Again, not handy-capable in 1974. It's not a handy-capable household, obviously. And like, Leatherface, help me get Grandpa down the stairs. He's too heavy. And so Leatherface, he goes up there. And they are very gentle with Grandpa, I must say. They clearly love this man. They carry him down the stairs, boop, 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 boop. And they sit Grandpa right next to Sally. And he's like, and she's like, ah! And it's like, oh, Grandpa taking a shine to you. He likes you. He just wants a taste now. We're going to give Grandpa an appetizer. And so they grab Sally's hand and they just cut her finger open, like with his razor blade. And they just, and, Grandpa's like, and they're like, oh, and they stick her finger in his mouth, and he starts suckling on her finger like a baby to a binky chair, like a baby to a bottle. She's like, oh, he's like, yeah, Grandpa, ooh, Grandpa loves you. You got that sweet blood. Ooh, mosquitoes must love you in the summer. Ooh, Grandpa mosquito too. And so they do all that. She eventually like passes out after enduring all of this. And she later comes to, and she sees that Leatherface, that the hitchhiker, Grandpa, and the cook, they're just feasting on barbecue, chat. Clearly just, sausage, ribs and shit, but it's all made of her friends and shit. And she comes to, and she's like, and she just starts screaming and shit. And they're like, they just mock her and everything. They're like, ooh, ooh. Eventually, the cook, he's like, all right, now, everyone settle down. Grandpa haven't had a lot of fun quite some time. Grandpa, he used to be the best at the slaughterhouse, our whole family. We've been in the meat business for many years, but he was the best. You give Grandpa a sledgehammer, in 1 hour, he was able to kill 64 cows. Never tied once. He could have done more. Problem was, the cows, they're too heavy. They couldn't get him out of the way fast enough for Grandpa to whack him with his hammer now, yeah. And so eventually, they're like, Leatherface, bring the bucket for Grandpa. And they give this big old slop bucket, Chad, and they drag poor Sally over there. Now, the thing is, the cook, he loves eating human meat, but he doesn't like killing people. And, like, the hitchhiker, like, mocks him for this for some reason. He's like, I just don't like killing us all. I like eating, but I just don't like killing now. And so they put Sally over the tub, this giant, like, wash bucket, Chad. And Leatherface is trying to give, like, the murder mallet to Grandpa, but Grandpa's so fucking old, and he has no idea. He doesn't know what the hell's happening half the time. He's trying to grab the hammer, and it just falls out of his hand. Chat grabs the hammer again. I think the actors actually hurt when they were filming this too. There are several scenes where there is no doubt the actors were actually hurt making this movie, but eventually, fucking Leatherface has to okay, Grandpa, Grandpa, grip it, and then he has to help him make the motion over and over again. Firm grasp. And they got her one time. I think they actually did get her in the back of the head. But then Grandpa, he starts fucking getting into it. He's like, and then Sally, she just uses the rest of her strength, chat, everything in her body to just, yes! She uses everything she has to throw them off of her, and she immediately turns around, runs down the length of the dining room, and just yeets herself through she loves yeeting herself through windows, chat. Boom, yeets, and they're like, holy shit, they're kind of taken aback by it, chat, and she just gets up, and now it's daytime, it's like early morning, and she just fucking hobble runs as fast as she can to the road. Just, help me! Just hobbling while Leatherface, he's getting his chainsaw, but then the hitchhiker, he gets his switchblade and he starts chasing her from behind, chat, and he's just having fun. This is like playing with, like playing with his food, if you will. And he just starts slashing her back over and over and over again, chat, just making her bleed profusely. Eventually, though, she does get out into the main road, and where a fucking semi-truck is heading right to her, she dives out. It's like, oh, she fucking just, feet don't fail me now. She dives out of the way, chat. When the hitchhiker's like, he's hit by this fucking truck, chat, just dead instantly. He wasn't dead, he's dead now. He's just run over by the wheels. And I'm going to tell you right now, chat, this fucking truck driver, he is the MVP of the movie. He's also one of the few black people to survive a horror film. He gets out of the truck, be like, what the fuck just happened? And Sally's like, they're coming. We hear Leatherface, we hear the fucking chainsaw, and the truck driver's like, oh shit, get your ass in here, girl. And he gets her in there, chat, and Leatherface just begins like he tries to get into the truck. They both, the truck driver and Sally, they get out the other way, but the truck driver, he grabs like this big fucking wrench, right? And Sally, she runs out ahead of Leatherface. Leatherface turns around, and Trevor's like, fuck you! Boom! And he fucking just wallops Leatherface right in the middle of his head, knocks him, concusses him, chat. He falls over, fucking chainsaw still active, cuts the thick thigh, chat, the thick meaty thigh of Leatherface. He's like, eee! And at this point, Another guy just driving along. He passes by and sees all of this. And Sally, she's like, fuck it, no, please help me. And, he helps her get into the car. By the way, the poor fucking truck driver, he just runs away. Get his ass back in the truck. Get him in the back of the bed of that truck. Yeah, why? He deserved it. He killed one of the members of the cannibal family. And he also briefly incapacitated Leatherface, yeah, but he just fucking running down the goddamn road while Sally, she gets in the back of the truck. Leatherface almost swings his chainsaw at her, but she takes down. She's just just screaming that she's just covered in blood and viscera, her own blood, chat, the hitchhiker's blood and viscera. And we just see Leatherface just ringing and dancing. It's like a rageful dance with the chainsaw. Just and then boom, cuts to black. And that, my friends, is my scene by scene breakdown to the 1974 slasher classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Very quick ending. It's like, oh shit, what happened next? Jack? I don't know. Nice. Hurricane won't keep me from my dad juice. Yay, 16-bit, yay. Very good. 70s horror are slow burn, but they go hard, very hard. Hard with a W in there too. Oh my lord. So if I were to give this a rating, I'm gonna give this like a low full price, chat. I feel like it's at times even though it's very short, it's about an hour 23 minutes, really, hour 20 minutes. You could probably cut out maybe 5 or so minutes of this movie, maybe up to 10, really, just because. It's very bare bones story. It's fine. It's just these kids happen to wander onto, they encounter this family and they pay the price for it. But there's this B-roll and there's some scenes where they're just screaming. It's like, okay, we can get past this. But other than that, it's really good. It's really solid. It does its job. So yeah, I would give this a low full price, chat, on the double toasted scale. But there you go. Oh yeah, so in some of the sequels, they killed the trucker. Like in not the most recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but the one before that one, which was a requel, they killed that guy, which is like, that's shitty. And then like all these random members of this family show up. Like it seems like they're like, okay, this family is like very small. Like grandpa's one of the, you have grandpa, you have Leatherface, you have the hitchhiker, and you have the cook, and that's it. That's the family. But then in one of the requels, they're like, oh yeah, there's like 35 members of the family. I'm like, that's some bullshit. But whatever. That trucker though, he kicked some ass shit. He was in the last 5 minutes of the movie, but he was the MVP. He did his goddamn job. I want to see his goddamn story. That'd be cool. Bad boy Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface, cut Sally's finger for real. Wow. Yeah, there you go. They were shooting this movie in the middle of the hottest summer in mid-Texas heat. The food was stinking and rotting. Most of the cast were getting sick. Oh, and leaving the room to vomit. Gunnar just wanted the scene to be over, so he cut her finger for real without warning Sally Hart's. Wow. I did not know that. Jesus. Yeah, people got injured making this movie. It was, again, they didn't have many people on set to help with health precautions and safety procedures. But there you go, chat. There you go. I hope you enjoyed my review. We are now gonna move on to some gameplay. We're gonna be playing some Dead Space, chat. And thank you again for your incredible patience. In case I missed anyone before, welcome to the stream. Oh, let's change some things around here. Yay. Very good, very good. Magic broom! That broom was kicking ass, chat. Broom beats machete. That's all I know. Use a broom against Jason Voorhees. Because I was very... Thank you, Cristano. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. By the way, that movie is free on a certain website, chat. So maybe we'll watch that. Maybe we'll watch that for Halloween. Or maybe one of our upcoming watch parties. I think it'd be fun. I just from the 70s and early 2000s. Great. Yes, those are the best ones. The original one and then the 2003 remake. Those are the best, in my opinion. All the rest, I'm like, bleh. Broom is S-tier weapon. Broom is 100% S-tier weapon. By the way, welcome, Edgy. Check out Edgy Stream Chat. Give her some support. I appreciate that. But now, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to some Dead Space. Going to change a few things behind the scenes.